Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the different options we have available in the market for performing a workload migration to Microsoft Azure. There are different sort of migrations are possible. First kind of migration is called like-to-like migration, where you have the VMs running on your on-prem data center and you want to migrate those VMs as is without changing the hypervisor as well, and you can migrate those using the VMware tools um, directly to the Microsoft Azure private cloud. When I say private cloud, but actually it means that Microsoft Cloud actually offers, or Azure offers actually a bunch of the bare metal servers which is running the VMware stack, and using the VMware tools you can migrate the VMs on-prem as is to Microsoft Azure bare metal solution. That's one sort of migration, which is called the data center migration. There is another type of migration is available where you actually migrate the VMs which are available on-prem to public cloud in Azure using Azure native tools or third-party available tools like, for example, Zerto or Veeam Backup solution, Veeam Backup and Recovery. Um, Azure itself provides native tool which is called Azure Migrate. Azure Migrate, what it does is actually recovery replication, ASR replication, site recovery replication from on-prem to the cloud, public cloud, and it actually allow you to do the field test over as well. It does the failover to the Azure as well during the migration, and it also allow you to assess your current workload. It also allow you to create a dependability assessment. It also allow you to create a business report or business justification that how much you're going to save if you migrate a particular workload to Microsoft Azure. So all of these things are possible using Azure Migrate. And as you can see on my screen, this is the link where Azure Migrate different options are actually explained. So in our today's lab demo, we are going to do Azure Migrate demo of how we're going to, how we can actually assess our workload, how we can actually create the business justification, and we can also migrate the VMs to Microsoft Azure. So for doing this, let's go back to our Azure portal. So let's go back to our Azure portal and let's log into the Azure portal. And so if you search for Azure Migrate, this is the Azure Migrate option. So in the Azure Migrate option, you're actually going to create a new project first. So that's our first step. As you can see here, you can have different options. You can migrate the server databases and web apps. You can also migrate the database, and there are other scenarios are also possible. For our demo, we are going to focus on server database and web app. So for doing that, basically you have to do, let's click on discover, access, and migrate. So it's very, very important that to understand that this Azure Migrate has two sections. One is the section is focusing only on discovery and assessment phase of the project, and second section focuses on migration and modernization phase of the project. So first section of the Azure Migrate portal will give you the tools to assess your on-prem infrastructure and do the discovery around it, create the dependability analysis, build the business case, and assess it that whether the workload is completely ready for the migration or not. The second section is talking about the actual migration. Now, very important thing to understand that these two phases of the project require two different appliances to be built on-prem, and those two appliances needs to be built on fresh Windows images. So if you, for example, want to do a discovery and assessment around your existing on-prem workload, what you have to do is to build a Windows VM, a fresh Windows VM, and then use that fresh Windows VM to perform this discovery and assessment phase. If you want to do the actual migration, if you're satisfied with the business case result that you really want to do the migration, then you have to do again, you have to build a new fresh machine, fresh Windows machine, and use that Windows machine to build an appliance for your actual migration. So let's start with our creation of the project first. So let's create in the test RG1 group. We can call it migration project. Let me name it to January 2024. It says that it doesn't like the characters, special characters, so not a problem. You can just like this. And then it says that which area you want. So I'm actually located in Canada, so I'll go with the Canada option. So let's create this project. So this is the first step. You have to create a project first. Then you have to move to the second phase, which is the migration assessment and discovery. And then we go to the third phase, which is the actual migration. So in our demo, we are going to demonstrate all the two phases of a typical migration project, which focuses on migrating the on-prem Windows servers and Linux servers to Microsoft Azure. So our project is ready. As you can see here, we're in the project right now. As you can see, migration project January 2024, and here we have two different distinct phases of the project. So to support the two phases of my project, I have actually created two Windows machines. I'm just connecting to my on-prem infrastructure using the VMware client. And as you can see here, I have two machines ready, two fresh Windows machines. Very important that you build the fresh, completely fresh machines. Should not have anything else installed ideally, and should not also be part of any domain. Azure terminology, they will become the appliances. The first will become the assessment appliance, and the second machine will become actual migration replication appliance. So we'll go through in our demo that how we can download those software, how we can install the software on those two Windows machine to assist us in performing the actual migration. So stay tuned with me during this demo. So with the Azure Migrate, there are two options possible. One option is called Azure Migrate Agent Based, and second is called Agentless. There are a couple of documents available which talks about the differences, and I will put one of the link in the description link below of my video. But essentially, the main difference between agentless and agent-based migration is that in case of agentless, there is no agent installed on the VMs themselves, which have to be migrated. The second difference is you need some sort of hypervisor control, like for example, a vCenter, if you want to do an agentless migration. So this link, which we have described here, is as you can see that the migration and modernization to provide agentless replication option for the migration of the virtual VMware and the Hyper-V machines. But they also provide another agent-based replication option for Windows and Linux servers that can be used to migrate the physical servers, or even you can use it for the virtual machines running on VMware, Hyper-V, AWS, and GCP. Basically, as the name implies, in the agent-based application, the agent software is going to be installed on the server virtual machine, while in the agentless, this is basically done without having any agent installed in your VMs. So there are pros and cons, and while you're making a decision that whether you want to go with agentless or agent-based migration, you have to think about a couple of different decision criteria. For example, if you don't have a vCenter in your environment, or if you have a physical server in your environment, you might go with the agent-based migration. While if you have a VMware environment, vCenter environment, you have vCenter Engine environment, you can maybe going, which is compatible, which is latest and updated version of vCenter, you can probably go with the agentless space migration. In this demo, we will actually going to do agent-based migration. So as we discussed earlier, we have now two machines ready, purely Windows 2016 freshly installed with the VMware tool with the Windows updates. One machine I called it Azure Migration Replication, and second I call it Azure Migration Assessment. Both are actually on-prem VMs. I don't have the vCenter in my environment, so I'll actually go with the agent-based migration. Let's go with the assessment first. So let's open the browser. We'll go with the portal login. Probably better to log in from the machine itself. My machines in my lab environment has internet connectivity, so not a problem for me to connect directly from here. Let me log in. Okay, I logged in. So let's go with the Azure Migrate, and let's go with the server database and migration. So as we discussed earlier, I'm in my migration project January 2024. I have two phases of the project. One is the Azure Migrate for discovery and assessment, and second is the migration modernization. So we are actually accessing this portal from the assessment VM or assessment appliance. So we'll go the first section and we will click discover. So the first question is going to ask is that are you server virtualized? Because we are going with the agent-based migration, so we have to select option number 3. If you are going with the agentless, you can select with the VMware vSphere hypervisor or Hyper-V, depending upon what kind of hypervisor you're running on-prem. I will go with the physical because I want to do the agent-based migration. So first thing we have to do is to name my appliance. So my appliance is called, yeah, I will call it assessment appliance January 2024. Looking for, okay, so so I go with the assessment appliance, or I can call it like better name, assessment assess appliance. Okay, not accepting it anyhow. So I'll call it assessment appliance, and next step is asking for generate the key. So generate the key. So it's actually going to generate the key for my assessment appliance. Let me pause the video and come back once the generation of the key is completed. Okay, so the um, project key has been generated. So what I'm going to do is I will copy this one and put a notepad. Okay, so I have this one key here, and now I'm going to download the migration appliance. So it's around 500 MB zip file, so it will not take much time. It will download the appliance zip file, installer zip file basically in 2 minutes. And once it is downloaded, we will install it. There is a PowerShell script which needs to be executed from this installer zip file. Once we execute this PowerShell file, we'll install it and get it ready for our assessment of our environment. So let's pause this video and then once come back once the download is complete. So I have actually the download is complete. So actually what I did was I created a directory called appliance, and in this appliance directory I copied over the installer zip files, and here is my all the zip files, the extracted files are available. So there is a agent installer, Azure Migrate installer is a PowerShell script. So it's better to do execute this script by using PowerShell. So let's go into the PowerShell and then execute the script from there. So I'm right now in my agent directory in the PowerShell, and here I have all the files. So now I'm going to execute my script. It says that do you want to run software from this untrusted publisher? We said yes, always run. So let's run it. And the next question is asking is um, it's verifying that no replication appliance or components have been installed on this host. So it's okay, and then it says that what kind of options you want to use for the migration. So in our case I will go with option number 3 because we want to do the agent based migration, and we want our target would be Azure public, so we'll select one. And it's asking that you want to do this migration through the public endpoint or the private endpoint. If you have a dedicated link with your Azure account, then you can go with the private endpoint. But right now it's a lab, it's demo, so we'll go with the public endpoint over the internet. So it's asking you to re-verify that all the configuration settings is perfectly fine. So we said yes. So it's basically going to install, the required components to run our assessment and discovery processes. So I'll pause this video at this stage and I'll come back once this um, execution of the script is finally completed. So our installation is actually going on, and as you can see, as a part of the installation, it actually installed the Microsoft Edge as well. Now it's asking that if you want to remove Internet Explorer from this machine as well, or you want to continue with or you want to say no, and you can manually uninstall the Internet Explorer. So in our case, we will go with the automatic uninstallation of Internet Explorer. It will restart the machine, which is fine for us. So we don't have anything else running on this machine, so let's go and do say yes to this question, and then we go from there. So as you can see, machine is restarting, and machine is restarted right now. Our machine is back. So let's start configuring our Azure Migrate appliance. So we will go with Microsoft Edge, which is recommended by Microsoft to use this to use with this wizard. So now we are starting configuring our appliance for the assessment part of our Migrate project. Let's go with agree. Disconnecting, checking the connectivity to Azure. I don't use proxy in my always go back to your shortcut. The shortcut Azure Migrate Assessment shortcut. When you double click, it will actually open the page as you, which is you're seeing on my screen, and it will actually ask you to log into your account, and it will validate the connectivity with Azure, and then it will come to the step 2, which is the manage the credential and discovery sources. Manage credential and discovery sources. In the add credential section, you have to add the credential which is required for connecting back to my Linux or Windows machine, which we are going to migrate to Azure. And we have to put a friendly name, user ID, and password. In my case, I already have one added for my Linux machine, as you can see. So Linux server password base, server name is this, and root and the password is there. So this is called the credentials, and then you go to the next page, which is add the discovery source. Here you can add the single server, multiple servers, or you can add more than one servers in a CSV format. You can download the CSV first, then update it, and then upload it using the import CSV option. This is good option when you have more than a couple of large number of servers to be migrated to Azure. So in our case, we go with a single item because we have only one single server to add. So let's go and add single server. So the IP address is 192.168.112, and the credential we're going to use is Windows Server 5. So let's add it. We did not put. So the validation is successful now. We put the IP address and use the same credential. The validation is successful. If you want, you can revalidate as well. Otherwise, the next step is to click on the start discovery, and this will start the discovery process. Okay, so as you can see, our assessment is complete. If you go back and check that it has discovered two servers, one of which is actually Windows Server 2016, and the second one is actually Fedora Linux, and it also discovered a database server running on the server, but it was not able to completely discover what are the details about the SQL Server because it says that SQL Server engine is stopped. But it was also able to discover some dependencies and software installed on Fedora Linux. Remember that Fedora is actually a community edition for Red Hat, and its version is Fedora Linux is not available as an option in Azure unless you convert into a Red Hat. I did those two servers in the dependency analysis is running right now, as you can see here. It's not able to give me the report yet, but it's running. You can also build the business case, and let's say if we can call it, let's say business case wave 1, for example, and we're going to run in central, let's say Canada region, Canada Central, and migration strategy is fine. So basically you have options. For example, you can um, your migrate to all IAS. We'll go with the migrate to IAS, although you can convert to PaaS as well. Essentially, it will convert the SQL. If you connect to this option, it will be actually either serverless or SQL running on the Azure. So we'll go with the migrate to all IAS, and we're going with reserve instances. And let's say your company is getting, let's say, 5% discount. Quote me in Canadian dollar, for example. can see here, and then you are able to build the business case for migration of these two servers. So business case will help you to convince your management that okay, if we have these two servers sitting on-prem, we can migrate to Azure and save some cost amount. Let's go back into the assessment page, and as you can see here, this is our assessment, and as the assessment tool is telling us that one of the VM which we have included in wave 1 is ready for migration to Azure, which is probably our Windows machine, and the other one has some conditions. That's of course the Fedora. So let's go back and check the Azure readiness. So as you can see, there are some issues. It's ready with some configurations. So it's not giving us any confidence rating here, as you can see. And here you get more detail about the particular machine. So the readiness issue is that it has unknown operating system or unsupported operating system by Azure. And you have to make sure that the OS running in the machine is supported by Azure before you migrate to Microsoft Azure. And as you can see, it has suggested a standard F2S size. Its monthly cost estimate is 24.39 US dollars. So let's go back and figure it out in the assessment. Let's go back to the Windows machine and check that's ready for migration to Azure, as you can see here. And it also says that this machine is suitable for lift and shift migration to Azure. So its monthly cost would be 26.64 US dollars per month, and the storage will cost us 211 US dollar per month. So basically, the storage is huge. That's why it's giving us a bigger amount of money if we migrate to Azure. As you can see, it has it's a 2 TB disk, and it is actually converting into SSD, right? And so basically, this is how the assessment works. Let's go back and check whether our business assessment is ready or not. So let's go back to our business cases. All business cases ready as well. So let's check the business case. No, it's not ready yet. It's still being generated. So we have to wait for a few more minutes, and we'll come back once this business case for the wave 1 is completed. Okay, so our business case are ready. As you can see here, that there are some assumptions made in the business case, but you can see that how much amount of money is required to move them, and how much amount of money will be actually required to run this workload on-prem versus Azure. If you go to Azure IaaS tab, you will see so there is an assumption. There's one server, one compute, 3.83 GB memory, and the costs are mentioned here as well. So basically, it gives you a complete overview or high-level overview that if you migrate the servers and workloads from on-prem to Azure, how much amount of money you would be able to save. And of course, there are some assumptions, so you can edit the assumptions if those assumptions doesn't meet your actual your workload-based migration scenario. So hopefully you like this video, and the next video we're going to see how we're going to actually replicate these workloads or migrate these workloads to Azure. Once our assessment is finished, discovery is finished, we are ready to go to the next phase, which is the migration phase. So in next video, we're going to see that how migration can happen from on-prem to Azure. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. And thanks one more time. Thank you.